Welcome to my spoiler review for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I'm super excited to get into this spoiler review. I actually am trying to figure out a good angle for this bucket. I'm trying to figure out, I think it might be like right here, might be the best, might be the move for this, because this is the new Black Panther Wakanda Forever inspired popcorn bucket. And I want to make sure it's like in the background while I give my, review. Actually, probably on the other side might be the best if I'm thinking about it, like right there. So I'm gonna switch it back. Probably right here. Probably is probably better. I think that's good. I think that's good. I want to have it glowing in the background. But guys, I'm so excited to give my spoiler review for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I'm so pumped. That movie was incredible, man. I haven't cried like that in a while. Broke me laughing. Yeah, seriously, bro, 100%. This movie was everything I hoped for and more. And there was a lot riding on this movie, of course, of the passing of Chadwick Boseman and how they were going to do this movie. Again, as we already know, the script was already done before his passing, and then that's when we found out, that he had, a secret illness, and they had to kind of like rewrite the movie around, of course, them not having their lead character, and also them not having their lead actor Chadwick Boseman. So it was just a lot riding on this movie going into this movie, and they executed it so freaking well. I absolutely love this movie. Like going into this movie, going in with the plot line and the story, just the visuals alone of this movie were breathtaking. Ryan Coogler executed underwater so well. And I honestly feel like James Cameron is definitely shaking in his boots because of the fact of we had blue people in this movie and we had water in this movie. A lot of water. It was a very water-based movie, this movie. And I definitely think, of course, this movie will make more money. One, on the height of that, it is the next Black Panther movie, and there was a lot riding on this movie, and also because it's a Marvel movie, and also because of, the hype surrounding this movie on how this movie was going to be done. And I just think that, it definitely is there's going to be a lot of, I feel like, one, comparisons, people comparing like, how that movie's going to do with the water stuff. Now this movie's going to do with the water stuff. I definitely think that. But Ryan Coogler executed the water sequences very, very well. And I'm just so happy that Marvel did such a great job on their first expedition underwater, especially us getting introduced to the Talakon people. That was just very awesome to me, seeing a new civilization of people. And diversity is really important, and the fact of we went the route of like a more like we went a different route than what we know from the comic books of Atlantis and stuff. We have now the Talakan people, and we went more of the there's a word for it, and I can't even like think of the word on the top of my head, of more of a what's the word, I can't even think of there's a word for it, but it'll probably come back to me in my head. But I'm just so glad that we saw so much diversity in this movie, and we kind of like the first Black Panther movie was such a global phenomenon of celebrating Black culture and stuff like that. This you know movie really kind of like did it again what the first movie did, but kind of opened the door for a new culture, and it really shined light on it, and they did it so well, and just how breathtaking it was to be, to it was really breathtaking, the moment where Shuri goes down to see Namor, and we see the capital city of Talokan, and just seeing how beautiful it is, and seeing how Namor brought the sun to his people, and it's made out of vibranium, and seeing how pretty it was, and the shot of seeing Shuri in that underwater suit, seeing the light shine on her face through the suit, and then seeing how breathtaking it was, the throne room, and seeing the vibranium sun there, just how beautiful it was, and seeing what Namor would do for his people, seeing as it's funny because we see from a Wakanda perspective of what they'll do and what they will do to protect their people and to, and protect their resources in Wakanda is the same as what, what will Namor do to protect his resources and protect his people of, the Talokan. So I really did love, the dynamic of he, is kind of like, in a way, King T'Chaka. King T'Chaka was willing to do tough things, and and some would say, the wrong things. Namor will do anything and everything. He'll kill people to protect his people. He'll do stuff like that to protect his people. And also his backstory of, kind of like, how he thinks of the surface world, of because, we found out, his mother and his people, they took a plant which was underwater, and it was from vibranium soil. So like it was like a vibranium plant that imbued his people, with abilities of no longer being on the surface world anymore, but being able to be underwater. And seeing the fact of, when the reason he has his wings and has his pointy ears, and the reason that he is the first mutant, which he is in the comic books, is because his mother took that plant, and he was the first born of from the plant, and it was and he was the first Talokan born. So that was just really cool to see all that, and to see that that's why he's not blue, and that's why he has his pointy ears, and that's why he has his feathers on his feet, is because he is the first mutant from that plant and the firstborn. So like that explains that he was the first mutant, which I really did like how they kind of like showed that, and that he's been around forever. So I love how they kind of see him as the feather serpent god, which I really do love that, and like the lore of the Talokan lore and all that. I just really did enjoy that a lot. Hey, what's up, bro? How's it going? But I just really enjoyed how they did the lore, and also why he has hate for the surface world. I really, yeah, bro, I want to cry. Yeah, the movie was literally so emotional, and I really enjoyed, like, seeing, like, why he has hate for the surface world is because, when he went up, he saw how people were being treated, and that's why he has so much hate for the surface world. And kind of like, how like his people had to like, to get away from illness and stuff, they had to go to the sea, they had to move and relocate, and to have him, his mother, what his mother wanted, it was her to be buried, back, on the world that she wished she didn't have to move from, to get away from illness and diseases and stuff. So just seeing how much hate how he has for the surface world, even though like the people have grown from, I mean, yeah, there's people still like that, but seeing how much they've been that people grow, he hasn't seen that in all those years he's been hiding underwater with his people. So have him rooted in American culture, genius, battling kingdoms different from DC's Aquaman totally worked. Yeah, this was a tour. Yeah, was so damn good in this movie. Yeah, he definitely was. He really brought a new flair and a new dynamic to Namor. I really do like how he made it his own, but they also, they kept the character the same, and how like he's kind of like an anti-hero at times. Like he could be a hero at times, and then he could be a villain at times. I like how they kept that, but he made it his own from them, what it was from the comics. Like they really kept what was really important from the character from the comics, but they changed up, going to like a Mesoamerican, culture of the Talokan and people and stuff, and they gave it some new flair to the lore of Namor back in the day. I really do like how they kind of like kept it like them in the Stone Age, and how their technology was, and it wasn't so highly advanced to like what Wakandans have, with their technically and logically advanced. Talokan kind of like stayed back in like the Mesoamerican, back in the days. They kind of kept it how it was. So with like spears and stuff. So I really like the difference between Wakanda and also the Talakan people. I like the difference, but the really thing that is the same is how they want to protect their people and they want to protect their resources, and that's exactly what this movie was really about. Was how you deal with grief and how you protect your people. And I really was thinking about I kept thinking about it because I saw it again yesterday, and I kept thinking about saying it's crazy to me to see how this all started, how this all how this all kicked off between the Talakan people and Wakanda is all because of Riri making that vibranium finding device that can find track vibranium, whether it be from solid objects or through anything. Like a vibranium tracker is that pretty much was what sparked up the battling between Wakanda and the Talakan people. So I really did find interesting is that was a brilliant way to bring in Riri, and I knew right away when we found out there was when they were looking for the American that made the vibranium tracker. I knew right away. I was like, okay, I bet you it's Riri. That's how Riri gets put into the story. She's the one that it was able to make this device. And when Shuri finds the device, and Namor brings Shuri the device, and and brings Queen Ramonda and Shuri the not only the device but also the shell to call him, so that way when they have the scientists. I knew right away, when she was looking at the device, Shuri, she was like, this is amazing. This device can track vibranium through solid objects or through really anything, what I mean, and find vibranium. Like, this is very, very impressive. And when they found out there's only one person that was able to make this device for the U.S., that was really cool to see. When they found out that it was someone it was a 19-year-old at a college, and not even a professor but a student that was able to make this device. So just the introduction to Riri I thought was really cool. She was super funny. She had so much, swagger to her, and I'm just super excited, for her series. I can't even describe how excited I am for her series. I would any scene she was in, I was like, I love your character. This is gonna be amazing. Your series, especially since it's tech versus magic. I'm super excited for her series. She was definitely a highlight of this movie for sure, especially bringing in new character to to a story that already has so much riding on it. I thought that character was so well done, and really fit into the story of what they were trying to tell. But the moment when Shuri and freaking Okoye come in there, and it's funny because Okoye wants to go in, and Shuri's like, no, you're not very discreet. She's like, I'd be very discreet, and then Shuri looks at her like, no, and she's like, oh, is it the wrong shade? And she's like, no, that's the right shade, because Okoye has to hide her head tattoo so that way she's not calling attention, even though they're already calling attention, mind you, because Shuri has this cool all purple tracksuit on and sneakers, but she can fit in a little bit better than Okoye, with her shades on, and she looks like a Dora Milaje, even though she's not in all of her gear. She still looks like a Dora Milaje, especially with their black sports car behind them. It's it was just so funny. She's like, I could be discreet, and it's like, no, you're really sticking out. Even though you're covering your head tattoos, you're sticking out. And that's why Shuri's like, I gotta go do this. I gotta go talk to her. And that was just a funny sequence when Okoye was in the bathroom, when Riri said, I'm gonna use the bathroom before I leave. That was just an all-out funny sequence. And then she's like, oh, who the hell are you? And then it was funny when she brought out the spear, and she's like, you brought a spear in here? And then that was just all super, super funny. And especially when she said, she's like, I can bring you conscious or unconscious. And she's like, you have to be cautious of the way you look. You're walking in here with all the ash on your head. I was like, geez. I was like, that's just that was super funny because she previously she was saying, is that the right shade? So there was does it match to hide the tattoos and all that stuff. So I thought that was just super funny how funny Riri was, and it allowed me to laugh in the movie. It brought some laughter to the movie, since this movie was very heart pounding serious a lot of the time. It brought some levity to the story of she brought the comedic elements into the story. And I was surprised on how much comedic elements M'Baku brought into the story as well. He was funny when he needed to be funny. especially when his with his introduction, back into the story, him walking in after they're all talking about, Namor, and pretty much, him getting through their borders and stuff, and freaking M'Baku's like, they should be ashamed of themselves, they shouldn't even be standing here, because, if it was my troops there, Namor would be bound to you right now, and pretty much, everybody's fighting about it. And I just thought that was funny, how like he's coming in there with a carrot and stuff, or I don't even know really what it was. It might have been a carrot. It might have been what I think it was. Personally, it looked like a carrot, but it just was funny to me how, he's coming in there saying, "Oh, if it was my troops, we could have got it done," and Namor wouldn't, wouldn't have, he'd be right here, and he wouldn't have gotten away and stuff. So I just loved how, how much of a threat Namor was. I really enjoyed that, like how much of a threat he was, and how much he was willing to protect his people. And it just shows you, like, in the time of, I was thinking to myself, would, like, it just shocked me, because even in the comic books, the Atlanteans, and at least in the comic books, aren't as much of a threat to Wakanda as Wakanda is to them. Like, there was a point where, like, Wakanda, Shuri went into Wakanda. Shuri, like, after Namor in the comics got the Phoenix Force, he came into Wakanda and literally, like, tried to, like, attack Wakanda. Like, he attacked Wakanda with the Phoenix Force. And then that's when Shuri's like, no, we're gonna go there and we're gonna attack, Namor down in Atlantis. We're gonna take everybody out. We're gonna kill everybody. She was super aggressive, and T'Challa's the one that warned Namor about, everything that was going down, about, Shuri wanting to attack, Atlantis, and pretty much killed almost everybody in that process. So it's just very interesting to me to see how much, like, even though they're not very advanced, the Talokan people, they pose a big threat, because it's vibranium versus vibranium, and it's also, the fact that they're able to hypnotize people with their singing, and make them jump off board, which they had that in the movie, where it's like, that's how we get an introduction to the Talokan people, is that they were singing to stop, and pretty much, trying to make it so they weren't able to, get out into the world, that they exist, and pretty much, they were going after their resources, which they have vibranium as well. So that moment when, the Talokan people were taking out that ship freighter that found the vibranium with Riri's device, that was insane to me, how they were able to, like, sing them off of board and make them jump off of board, so the Talokan people that were in the water could take them out. That was a crazy sequence, especially the brute strength that the Talokan people have. They have, like, strength and like speed and durability, because of the herb, or because of the plant that they took. It's like they have strength, speed, and that was pretty much the thing, is that, Okoye and the Dora Milaje and a lot of the people in Wakanda don't have any strength or anything like that. Yeah, they have the will to fight and the skill to fight, but it's like, how do you fight someone that has, one, the same stuff as you when it comes to, like, the same metal as you, and also the same, and has, like, strength, and you don't have any strength, because you don't have any more, you don't have the Black Panther to protect anybody, to protect Wakanda, and also you don't have any more heart-shaped herbs anymore. So how do you go against somebody that is just so strong? Like, it is, like, actually a superpower underwater. So that was really interesting to see. It was like tech versus, strength, and versus, and, I mean, it's like the highly advanced tech versus, strength, and underwater, and also having the ability to hypnotize and all that stuff. So it was just very, very interesting to me to see the dynamic of, yes, they didn't have all the tech of Wakanda, but yes, they had, a way of taking out people from, recognizing them. They were still in the stage of, like, we're not having anybody know we exist. Well, Wakanda, everybody knows Wakanda exists, and knows Wakanda has, vibranium. But to see how that all sparked everything off is because, the government wanted vibranium, and was upset at Wakanda for not giving them their resources. That was a very interesting scene with, Angela Bassett in that sequence where, she's in the I forget, in the room with all these other people, talking about, oh, like, we're upset at you guys because you're not giving us any resources, and you're not participating in this council. So that was just very interesting to me to see that sequence and to see that she knew that they were speaking about how, there is no more Black Panther in Wakanda, there is no protector in Wakanda, and to see all that happen while they're still mourning the loss of their king. So it's just, that was very interesting to be like, she's like, no, just because we don't have any Panther right now doesn't mean that Wakanda can't defend herself. So I just loved that moment where we see, they set up the trap for the government when they came into like the facility that they had. I forget where it was. I think it was the foundation that they opened, like the Wakanda Foundation that they opened, a facility that they opened in the first movie. I think they tried hitting that to take the vibranium, but they had a little ambush waiting for them with the Dora Milaje. So that was just a sick ass fight that went down in that sequence. I really did like that a lot, especially because the different shots that Ryan Coogler did in that sequence, I thought was really, really cool. But by far, probably the best part of this movie has to be the part where, Shuri does end up making, recreating the heart-shaped herb through the plant that was passed, that was made into like a jewelry piece for Namor's mother. And he cherishes that deeply. But since Shuri was the first a surface person that was down in Talokan, he gave it to her as kind of like an offering of like you were here, and I kind of also as an offering of like you brought me. Or you brought me. I kind of like as a gift of saying like, oh, like, can we work together to destroy the surface world, because he's kind of like he gets to that proposition for Shuri, saying like, look, I'll give you Riri, but only after you help me destroy the surface world. And she's like, she's like, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? So that was just insane that he thought because he overheard Shuri talking about her grief and how upset she was that she couldn't save her brother, and how she's like, if I sit here and think about my brother, it's not my robe, it's not my my was it my funeral garments I'm going to be burning, it's the world I'm going to be burning. And he overheard that and said like, you wanted to burn the world, I overheard you, and I want to burn the world, so like, let's do it together. Before you have no allies right now, Wakanda has no allies, and the Talokan, my people, don't have any allies, so why don't we ally together and let's take out the world, so we don't have to feel like they're going to take our resources or they're going to try to hurt us. And, we could be each other's ally. And he said that I'll give you Riri only after that happens, or if you don't take this or whatever, I'm gonna Wakanda would be the first to fall, and I'll still kill Riri anyways, and then I'll go after the world. So it was like seeing how much like he was willing to protect his people, like he was willing to protect it on a whole nother level. He had no love for the surface world because of what it did to his people, and he just had no love for it. And seeing how the surface world treats other people and enslaves other people, he just was not for it. So he always wanted to take out the surface world, and he's like, now's the time. I've been preparing my people for this moment where where the government would make a device to try to find us, and I've been preparing my people for this time, and it's now the time to strike. Let's team up. So that whole moment where that happens, and like that was just insane to me, just seeing like how like he was willing to like show her around to say, okay, like, look, I'm gonna do this, will you help me do this, all because of trying to like in a way use her grief to be like, okay, let's do this, you said you wanted to burn the world, let's do this, you know what I mean, we kind of have like, you want to protect your world, I want to protect my world, like, let's go do this. But my favorite part definitely is when she does find out she takes the plant, and she realizes that maybe I can use the element from this plant, from this bracelet, and kind of like remake the heart-shaped herb, and I can get powers, because the Black Panther has never failed before, and we need the Black Panther now more than ever, and she does that. Sure, it could be she was jokey, immature, and that's the first movie, the first, yeah, and it's for movie, and similar to Peter and No Way Home, they really matured her and had her face life-changing grief. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was very, in a way, similar to No Way Home, is that, Peter went through a lot of stuff, and, Shuri went through a lot of stuff, and definitely to mature the characters up into the next step of, where the characters need to go going forward in the MCU, that's for sure. Um, but I know I really enjoyed the moment where she was able to remake the heart-shaped herb, and that was a really tough moment because she couldn't do it because she didn't have that element to make the heart-shaped herb when she was trying to save her brother in the opening sequence of this movie, which was very tough to see, to start off the movie like that, just to walk in and having Shuri, praying to Bust about saying, like, if you help me save my brother, I'll never question you again. Like, you know what I mean? I'll never question you again. Just please help me save my brother. And that was a very tough opening sequence to walk into, but I think it was the best way they could have done it. I don't think he should have died in battle. I don't think, I think that this makes it real, and as it was real for, the passing of Chadwick, I feel like this was the best way to do it, where it's like, like to go down that way to do it. I don't think there was any other way to do it. Uncomfortable. She's trying to save T'Challa, and we know he's going to die. Tough and really hard to watch, man. Yeah, I know, but I don't see any other way they could have done it. I feel like, even though we know, you know, Chadwick died, and you know what I mean, and even though we know, we knew that's what they were gonna do in the movie to like, because we know they had to address T'Challa in the movie because Chadwick died. So I think it was the best way to do it because you couldn't just have him die in battle. I felt like that would have been really hard to hear if he died in battle or something like that. When it's like it feels real that he had an illness, and they had to, like, I felt like it was a way to feel to like connect with the audience, and also connect with the fact that that's how he died in real life. I feel like it just was a good way to do it, and also it really it really paved the way for where Shuri's character needed to go, because she is a tech whiz, and she is someone that really doesn't believe in Wakandans tales, and Wakandans beliefs in the afterlife, and all that stuff, like, so I think that was really good for her character arc to be like, someone that is just so upset about, I have all this, skill, and all these gifts, and I couldn't save my brother. And, and just seeing how she deals with her grief going through this story of, not believing. And when, her mother said, you know, I could feel, your brother, I could feel him, when he was in the wind, and he was gently pushing me forward, and and to keep going, with being queen, I could feel him in the wind. And she's like, no, that was just your subconscious playing tricks on you. You didn't feel him. And that's just her, Shuri, the character, on, how she just scoffs at tradition. And they talk, and M'Baku says that again, you know what I mean? Or I guess Shuri says that again in the scene where, her mother dies at the hands of Namor. And they're at the funeral site, and and she's like, oh, like, someone that scoffs at tradition, you have to take orders from her now. And it's like, that's who Shuri is someone that just, she thinks of science as what makes sense, and that doesn't make sense to her. And even though her mother knows it makes sense, and and King T'Chaka knew it made sense, and T'Challa knew it made sense, it's like, she's now understanding that science and what they and Wakanda stands for, of there being an ancestral plane, is one and the same. Magic, and well, I guess the afterlife, and that all makes sense in a way. And it's like she found that out in this movie, that just because in a way she was so focused on her grief that she never got to have that moment where, like, her mother had that moment, because her mother fully accepted the ancestral plane, so that's why she could feel her son in the wind and stuff like that. But for Shuri, she was just so focused on work, and she was still in her grief, and she was using work to kind of like get away from how she was feeling about her brother's passing. She just went straight into work, and straight into what made sense to her. And I just love when she was able to recreate the heart-shaped herb. And there was a moment there, it's like, it's like a moment of like, I did it. I wish I could have done this when I needed to do it, but I'm able to do it now. It's like a moment of like, I'm able to do this. I'm able to give back hope to my people in the time of need where hope is needed. And I really felt that moment, especially with, Nakia, showing up in the story. That was, really, interesting to me that she left right after Thanos attacked. So just seeing that and seeing that she's in Haiti and seeing that she's made a life there, and and the queen comes there to assign her, can you please go get back Shuri because she's been taken. That was a really interesting sequence, that she's being called back into the field to get back Shuri. But before all that though, that whole chase sequence was freaking phenomenal. They're back at Riri's garage, and we find out a little bit about how what she's been working on. She's working on like a prototype for her Ironheart suit, and it actually works and flies. It's not fully like put together. It kind of looks like the kind of like the cave armor that Tony had. So I really like how it's like they're using what they had. She kind of had a box of scraps. He had a kind of a box of scraps, and like, and they're kind of like it's like the beginnings of their journey, and the beginnings of of what they've built. So it's like the start. We see Riri at the start of her journey of becoming who we know from the comics and stuff. So I really, and who we're eventually gonna see by the end of this film. So I really loved that, especially when they all got surrounded, and Shuri got on the bike, and Okoye got on in the car, which was made. The car was something that Riri and her father worked on before he passed. So it's like, even for her, that was really, she really cherished that car, but we don't know about it until the very end, that that was something her and her father worked on before her father died. But that whole sequence was insane, and especially Riri taking down that drone, and then it set up their escape plan, and the whole fight between what was it? Who was it? It was between Okoye, and it wasn't was it Namora, but Namora was there, but there was also the big dude. I forget his name. But that was a really sick ass fight scene that Okoye pretty much took all of them out. Atuma, there we go. Thanks, Superwise. Atuma was a badass. Like Atuma and the Okoye fight sequences were the best, hands down. That was definitely my highlight fight sequence. Was definitely the fight between Atuma and Okoye, and she literally killed all those other what is it, Talocan. She like killed those other people, but then they were able to like heal back up, which I'm not sure how they explained that. I just assumed that there was water by, and that's how they were able to heal, is through the water. So that's how they were able to like. I think they were running to jump back in the water to heal. So that was very interesting. But that whole fight sequence was intense. Especially like he was like threw her into like his spear that he stabbed into the ground, like threw her into it, and I was like, damn. Like it definitely felt like they weren't pulling their punches back in this movie, and you felt their brute strength, the Talocan people in this movie. Like anytime they would fight or do something, you felt their strength, and that's like you just felt it. But the moment, like I said, where like she's the one that wanted to go to meet Namor to stop all this from happening. The winged feet made, for some dope shot. 100%. The way he was moving through the air, 100%. He survived, saved him for the Fantastic Four. Exactly. When Shuri did that though, when like she said Wakanda forever and like blew up the plane and like burnt his back, I thought he died. That's for damn sure. I thought he died in that moment. But he ended up not dying. But what's crazy is that my favorite scene in the movie by far is definitely the moment where Shuri, she takes the herb, she goes into the ancestral plane, but she comes across Killmonger, and that sequence where we see Killmonger again. That's the person that Boss gave her in that moment of how she actually was feeling, whether she wanted to admit it or not. She wanted to take the herb to get vengeance for her mother. And also, in all seriousness, is Namor pretty much gave something for Shuri to like gave something like gave like a target for Shuri to put like to get like to feel like to like point her grief at and like and point her anger at. Like he really like was like he pointed a missile at him by what he did. Like, she had all this grief and all this anger, and really like the breaking off point was the moment where Namor killed her mother. And that was the moment where, like, again, how it was for, like, T'Challa when, when King T'Chaka died, he pointed all of his anger and grief towards, you know, the Winter Soldier. And then you found out the Winter Soldier wasn't behind all this. It was actually Zemo. But the realizes is that, I can't let, anger consume me. I can't let it do that. Like it consumed everybody else. I won't let it consume me. So, it's like, for her, it's like she had a moment like that, but it was Namor, the one that killed her mother. It wasn't like, how like it was, that's who it was, instead of, same as how it was for like Zemo's the one that killed King T'Chaka. So I really did love how it's like, that was the moment where like you gave her something for her to put her anger and grief towards, and it was towards you because you killed her mother. And she already had all the anger from her brother passing. I know, bro. I was the same way. I was like, they just did that. Are they really gonna do that? I really thought she would have survived, but the moment when it was Okoye and Nakia that walked up in there and she's face down and Riri's up top, I was like, oh no. I was like, damn. I was like, they didn't just do that. And you can really tell that in this movie, Shuri lost everything. And that's what it's about. It's just, she lost everything, and already she couldn't process the grief and the guilt she felt for not being able to save her brother, but also, the grief of the heart, like that was like the grief that she felt of not being able to save her brother, but also the anger she felt of like, oh, I just lost my mother now, and that got taken from me as well. Is It's similar to T'Challa's, yeah, in Civil War, not giving into vengeance and anger, and it was emotional. Yeah, it was. Like I said, like this was kind of like how it was for T'Challa, and with with Zemo and sparing Zemo. And the moment where she does put on this, she does kind of go the vengeful path, and there's all of the mask there of T'Challa's past suits, whether it be the one he had in Civil War and the one he had in the beginning of Black Panther, or the one he had in the one he had in like at the end of the Black Panther movie on. She ended up going towards the one that looked more like Killmonger's, and the moment when she drops down into the mountains of the Jabari tribe, she drops down where everybody like retreats there after the Wakanda gets flooded. That music, I think it's called I think it's called Wakanda Forever. I think that's what that music is called. But the one where it's that's like my favorite theme of the movie. I also love I think it's Wakanda or Welcome. I forget what it's called. I gotta look it up because it was the one. I have two really favorite themes of the movie, and I actually have them on my playlist. I love the Welcome Home. I love that one, and that's that when they first go back into Wakanda. I love that theme, but I also, like I said, I love the theme where it's Wakanda Forever when she drops down. Those are my two favorite themes of the movie. T'Challa, but also Killmonger, his good symbolizing Shuri carrying his anger, his hatred. Yeah, this movie, bruh, I loved it. Yeah, I know. This movie was everything. Like, the anger of how she felt. Like, and it's funny because, the interaction between her and Killmonger saying, like, oh, she's like, why are you here? And he's like, why I'm here. You called me here, whether you want to admit it or not. And and I love when he's like, are you gonna be like your brother, or are you gonna be like me and get to work? I was like, oh shit. And she picks a suit that looks like his, but also kind of looks like, but kind of looks like, T'Challa's as well. I kind of liked that. I was like, okay, I'm really liking this right now. And the moment where, she talks to, M'Baku, saying like, why are you like, is my mother not worth eternal war? And he's like, I don't want war for my people, and neither would your mother or whatever. So I really loved that sequence. Yeah. Yeah, and the little screen time he had was so good. Killmonger, top five, yeah, top tier MCU villain, 100%. Michael B. Jordan killed that role. Even though, yeah, he did have very little screen time in the first movie, he killed that role. Like, he's definitely a top MCU villain for me as well. And just seeing Michael B. Jordan in that role again, he hasn't lost a step. If I want to bring that character down the line in like a what if live action storyline or a multiverse storyline, that'd be fire. That'd be so freaking cool. Like he has not lost any step. And it's crazy to see that Killmonger still had he was still the same Killmonger, even in being in the ancestral plane. He was still that vengeful, vengeful Killmonger that we knew. Like it didn't change. So that was just crazy to me. But the sequence is like, about, how M'Baku doesn't want her, Wakandans to kill Namor because he knew that'd be eternal war between between both people, and he didn't want that to happen for his people, and he didn't want that to happen, for Shuri to go down that path of if you do this, it means war for all of us, and I don't think your mother wouldn't want that, and I don't want that. And I just thought that was really, really good, especially because, Shuri, the moment she's like, anything my mother wanted, any of the goals that she wanted for me, any of that stuff, it doesn't matter anymore. She's not here anymore. My heart's buried with her. It got buried with her. And it's like, I wanted that and you're going to help me get it. And I was like, oh shit, she's not playing around. So the moment where they like set up a big trap for the Talakan people with, the big finale boat sequence was really sick. And to see how Shuri was moving, I was so happy to see her, get into this role, her, get to the point of like, I'm Black Panther now. I can't get over how impactful that moment was when everybody is, waiting for the moment to see, is this actually true? Did she restore the protector of Wakanda? And seeing that moment where her and M'Baku dab each other up, and it's like they're kind of arm wrestling for a moment to see if she actually has the strength of Black Panther and if she actually did it. That was just it was the best sequence of the movie. It definitely was. And just to see the big fight sequence at the end between her and Namor, and how much Namor was like slamming her on the desert that they ended up crashing on. Just like that was insane. Like he was really like kicking her butt. Like he was like doing really. You feel the blows that he is giving Shuri in that sequence on the desert. But the moment I really love is when she cut off his wing. I think it was one of his wings on his foot. That was crazy. And the moment and the moment also where like she was ended up getting the upper hand on him. But the moment like he stabbed her, I thought she was dead. I thought she was dead in that moment. I was like, she's totally dead. The finale action sequence was so good. It was so dope. How they, entrapped Namor. It was all set up, all very well. Yeah, it was, how they trapped him was so sick. And to see, Riri in her final Ironheart suit, that was sick as hell. Especially since we now know it's made out of vibranium because, we had Namor trying to break it. That was really cool. Where I thought Shuri was dead. Yeah, too. Yeah. How she survives that, I don't know, but we'll roll with it. We'll roll with it, exactly. We'll roll with it. Oh, because I was like, how did she just survive that? Because I was like, even, Killmonger couldn't survive, like, a stab. So how did she survive a full-on spear straight through her, like, stomach? How did she survive that? I was like, how did you just survive that? But I was like, okay, whatever. I was like, okay, we'll just roll with it. But the moment where like she flips over him and says Wakanda forever, and like literally like crisps his back, makes him literally crisps him up to the point where I thought he was a fish stick. I was like, bro's like dead. He's dried out. He's dead. How he survived, I still don't know. But I was like, okay, we'll still go with it because we still need him to do stuff in the future of the MCU. But she spares him. Like she has a moment, a realization. She, about her like going like backtracking through everything through her head when like she's like stuck into the rock of like what if I would have done this, what if I would have done that, and then she's having a realization of like both of her people, and you know what I mean, and kind of like she was I think she was also having a realization of what M'Baku said, saying like this will be eternal war if you kill him, and she was having that moment when she was like trapped into the rock, like if I kill he was hurting my people. And maybe if we would have done things a different way, maybe we could have undid all of this. Maybe this wouldn't have gotten to this point. And and she's realizing like, oh, like seeing her people and his people, and realize if I do this, what will this do? What will this mean for my people and his people? Like, what will this do? Is this really worth doing? But the moment when she does it, she like crisps him up and she's getting ready to kill him. Like, you know what I mean? Because she rolled back into her head where she's like realizing like what it like if I go through with this, what will this do? But then she has a realization, oh, I had a conversation with Killmonger saying, like, and she's like realizing what she set out to do is killing him and standing over him and killing him. But the moment she flips over and says Wakanda forever and burns him up, and then she has the spear to his neck and is getting ready to kill him, she sees her mother and sees that, you know, I'm going down the vengeful path, something that my mother didn't want for me, something that my brother wouldn't want for me, and something I don't want for myself, and neither does any of my people want for me. And I'm realizing that what will this do if I do this? It won't fill my anger and my grief that and the big hole that I have, you know, inside me. It will just make it bigger if I go through with this. It'll mean eternal war for me and his people. Is it really worth it? It won't make me feel any better. So just seeing, you know, her mother pop up at that time of her having a realization. I don't think, you know, she probably would have had that, you know, realization if it wasn't for her, looking down at him and her, you know, realizing that, you know, this isn't what my brother would want. This isn't what my mother would want. This isn't what my people would want. And this isn't what, you know, I don't think this was what he initially wanted for his people. You know what I mean? He wanted to protect his people. Yeah, he went about it the wrong way, but is this really worth me killing him, worth war between both countries and just destroying one another? When we could come together and we could, you know, protect one another. And you know what I mean? Because and I think in that moment, Shuri realized that we do need allies because we have no allies right now. And they are definitely on par with us when it comes to threat level. And, you know, I do think that we can protect each other. And, you know, also, you know, MCU wants to have Namor for the future of the MCU, so they weren't going to kill him in that moment. But I just love the moment she's like, yield, and, you know, I'll spare you, yield, and I'll protect your waters, and, you know, and just let's stop this. And he's having a realization of seeing his mother and seeing that, you know, he kind of wishes that, you know, I feel like for him, he's kind of like, maybe he's seeing in that moment, the more he's probably seeing like, this is the surface world. This is an ally. You know what I mean? This is like, the surface world isn't as bad as maybe I'm thinking it out to be. I feel like maybe he kind of had that realization of like, maybe like, you know, this is something, this is a partnership. I don't know, but even then at the end of the movie, when we do see, you know, the painting that he was making about the Panther and Kukulkan Khan going against each other, I feel like in a way he's just setting up for the moment where like he can turn against the Wakandans. You know what I mean? He said in one moment they have no allies and they're gonna turn to us, and that's the moment. You know what I mean? So I feel like, you know, he is going to betray them because again, at the end of the day, that's who he is in the comics. Which I'm happy that they're sticking to the root of who the character actually is. He's like an anti-villain, like he's like an anti-hero. So I really do like how we're sticking to that, where it's like he will betray them, even though it's like I don't know why in a reality he would want to do that after he did all this to get them to get the Wakandans to, make a partnership, make an alliance. So it's like it's very weird to me that he's willing to, like, especially after he knows that, Shuri is about to kill him and he knows how much of a power they are. I feel like it's dumb if that's what, the character is going to do after he just got his ass beat and was about to, like, die in that moment. I feel like, why would you want to betray them when it's like, you need them just as much as you claim that they need you. And if I'm being honest, I don't think the Wakandans need the Talakan people in an alliance. Because if I'm being honest, they've had no problem with anybody trying to attack them at all until Namor got angry that the government made a device that found, vibranium in their search for vibranium in the Atlantic Ocean, and it was about to find them and their people. So and his people. So I don't know. It's like Wakandans don't need an alliance. He needs the alliance. But it's funny because also if he needs the alliance, how is he able to do what he did in Wakanda? You know what I mean? It's like there's some things there where it's like I still think that are a little bit iffy and things making sense a little bit. But I love this movie. Like I love this movie so much. I keep thinking about those things, thinking like, why would he need Wakanda's alliance if he was able to do the things he was doing in Wakanda to Wakanda? You know what I mean? It's like things like that didn't make sense. And why is he threatened of the world if the world, you know what I mean? Even if the world hasn't done anything to Wakanda, and the world wouldn't be able to do anything to the Talakan people. You see what I'm saying? It's like some of that doesn't make sense a little bit, but I'm just happy the way it ended, where Shuri goes off. She's still the Black Panther, but M'Baku is challenging for the throne. I do think he will be the king of Wakanda until what I'm about to say, we end up finding out at the end of this movie, I think it's the post-credit sequence, where we end up finding out when, when Shuri goes to live with Nakia, because Nakia said, you have always a place to, to stay with me once all this is over. And the thing we end up finding out, what, what the queen was about to tell Shuri, was the fact of, around the campfire, when she was about to burn the ceremonial robes, or the, or the, yeah, or the, the funeral gowns, or whatever, the funeral stuff, was the fact of, T'Challa had a son with Nakia, and had and Nakia. That's the reason Nakia's been gone all this time, is because of, T'Challa and Nakia thought it was best for, their kid to live outside of Wakanda, grow up outside of Wakanda, to really, I feel like, to really, like, understand that everybody needs help and everybody is his people, whether it be out in the world or whether it be Wakanda. It's like the world is his people, so he's born in both Wakanda, outside of Wakanda, but also his home is Wakanda. So I feel like it's the best of both worlds, where he'll want to defend both. And and I feel like, because I feel like that's what T'Challa set out to do, is defend both, when he had a realization of, the things that were going on with what sparked up Killmonger, and he's kind of learned from that and opened the doors to Wakanda, and the resources to Wakanda. But it's like, he, in a way, is now setting a new path for his son to grow up outside of Wakanda, and learn outside of Wakanda, and make a home outside of Wakanda, but also realizing that he has a home in Wakanda. And I love the moment where, Nakia introduced Shuri after she's, done, burning, her, her funeral attire, and, sitting there quietly and thinking about the moments of her brother, and kind of, saying that, moving forward with her life, but also, like, cherishing the moments, with her and her brother. I really did appreciate that. I thought that was really well done. Made me tear up, man. And that post-credit scene made me full on cry, bro. Yeah, I find that post-credit scene very interesting, because it's, all soft reboot T'Challa. Yeah, he'll most likely lead the franchise until, it's, and it'll serve as a semi-recast T'Challa. Exactly. I thought it was very well done how they did it, because people wanted them to just recast when Chadwick, passed. And I was like, I don't like that. I like how they were kind of retired the character in the perspective of, that's his character. But I thought it was genius how it's like, but, we'll meet you in the middle ground, and, he had a kid in the time, and it had to have been in between, Black Panther 1 and Infinity War. It had to be in between that gap. It had to be. Because after Thanos attacked, Nakia was gone. So it had to be in that time period between Black Panther 1 and also, again, Infinity War. And that's when Nakia was off all that time with their son. And, the moment where, Nakia introduces Shuri to her son, and then the kid says, can you keep a secret? And says, I'm Prince T'Challa, son of King T'Challa. That made me literally start tearing. I was like, what? How beautiful is this? And it's like, it's almost like a new hope. It's a hope in that moment for Shuri too, of that, her brother does live on, and her brother left a beautiful son behind. And it's like, she has family still, and you know what I mean, and her brother will fully live on, in a way, through his son. I just thought that was so beautiful. I was like, so beautiful, and it's just so smart on Ryan Coogler and Kevin Feige's behalf to be like, look, we'll meet you in the middle ground, and we'll name T'Challa, and the kid will name their son T'Challa. And it's kind of like you are getting T'Challa still in the future. T'Challa still exists, but we're not just going to recast him. You know what I mean? It's like, we're seeing a new birth of a new T'Challa through his son. I thought that was so genius. And you know what I mean? And it really shows how much, I don't know if they decided on, they both decided naming him T'Challa, or if it was Nakia that decided to name him T'Challa after, after, the great spirit of the great person of which T'Challa, who he was. I don't know. That's actually like something I wonder. But I'm so looking forward to the future of where things are going to go, especially because like I hope that they keep the kid, just let him age gradually, and I hope it'd be cool if it was the same kid later down the line. I think that'd be sick. Or you know what I mean? Because I do think that I would love more time with Shuri as Black Panther, and maybe a couple of movies with her before we like get like an older the son to be older. I hope we wait on that and let the kid, grow and experience the world, and then he really grows into that role of becoming King of Wakanda and the new Black Panther. I just feel like if they just age him up somehow in Secret Wars, and then he's the new Black Panther after we just got the Black Panther, it'll really feel like they're undercutting everything Shuri went through to become Black Panther, and what that meant in that moment when she did take the heart-shaped herb, and she did put on the suit, and she gave hope back to her people. It'll just undercut everything if they just age that kid up right away and they make him Black Panther. I just hope we spend some time with Shuri as Black Panther, and I hope we get to see M'Baku as the King of Wakanda. I hope we get to see that maybe in the next Black Panther movie. We get to see how he is as ruling Wakanda. I hope we get to see that. But also, the stupid thing I was talking about the other day in my spoiler-free review, the one thing that they were setting up in this movie, which this just proves that this movie's going to be shit probably, because when you think about the two great global powers of the Talokan people and the Wakandans, you see, and we see cameos in this movie, and it's Valentina, it's Val. We see Valentina in this movie, and we end up finding out that her and Everett Ross used to be married, and we kind of have an understanding that they're setting up the Thunderbolts. And there was a moment where and when we have Everett talking to Val, and Val like is in his house, and and pretty much Val's like, I bugged the Kamoyo beads, and I heard everything that you were talking to Queen Ramonda about. I heard everything. You betrayed your country. And he's like, didn't you ever think what Wakanda is going through right now, and and could you imagine could you ever think like if what we would be dealing with if we were the ones that had vibranium? And she's like, I dream of that every night. And it's like, she wants to, like, I think there's gonna be a moment where like she's the one that like maybe with her Thunderbolt squad tries to infiltrate Wakanda, or tries to like tries to get in Wakanda, steal their vibranium, and pretty much that's the moment where maybe the Wakandans ask for the Talokan people's help to stop them from doing that. I feel like that's what they're probably going to do. When it's like, I hate that so much, because it's like, I'm sorry, there is no powerful people on the Thunderbolts team that could even that I feel like could stand up against all these big heavy hitters we have in the MCU now. It's like, it feels like that's so peanuts, the Thunderbolts movie. I feel like it's gonna be trash. Yeah, that was a shock to me. Yeah, that she was, that her and Everett were married. Big shock to me. The whole theater gasped when that happened. Yeah, the 100%. Like, that was very weird to me. I was like, shit. But I know what they're setting up here. They're setting up the Thunderbolts, and it's like, how can you set up the Thunderbolts that's so small compared to what just happened? These global, like, these global threats of Wakanda and the Talokan people are so much more powered than anything of the Thunderbolts will throw at them. It's like, who are the Thunderbolts going to fight to make them feel like they're you know what I mean? That, that feels like they have a chance. You know what I mean? It's like, who are they going to fight? That's why I'm like, I feel like this is just so late in the game, where we're going into like the multiverse saga of all these big heavy hitters, especially we're going into the multiverse saga with Kang. Where do the Thunderbolts fit in? I love Daredevil, but where does Daredevil fit in? It's like they got to do something with these ground level people, and they got to give them something, because I'm sorry, if the Val's trying to make this Thunderbolts team to get vibranium from Wakanda, they're gonna fail. I'm sorry, there's no chance in hell they're gonna roll up in Wakanda after no one's been able to do it ever, except the Talokan people did that. There's no way. There's just no way that's gonna happen. I just feel like it's like, no. How are you gonna tell me Wakanda's never had problems with anybody getting in before, but now they're gonna have a problem now with, like, since Val wants vibranium. It's like, I feel like that's where they're leading. That's why she's making this team of Thunderbolts to get vibranium, and so, like, and so the government can be like the only ones that have vibranium. I feel like that's what they're trying to do, but it's like I don't know. It's like this movie felt so big, and so, and we see these powerful, these powerful, like, civilizations of, Wakanda, and also, the Talakan city of, down there. It's like, how do you, that was so high. How do the Thunderbolts, why are you setting them up vaguely in this? And it's like every time I hear Thunderbolts, I'm like, this is not gonna go, it's just not gonna feel good. It's like, I even when they announced the cast of the Thunderbolts, I was like, nah. I was like, it feels like, really, this is the Thunderbolts. I was like, this feels like they pose no threat. You know what I mean? It's like, it feels like, well, who are they gonna fight to make them feel like they're threatening and feel like, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't see it. I don't know. I don't know how they're gonna do that at all, because it's like, who are they gonna fight? Because we have so many powerhouses. Is like, if they fought anybody that we've gotten introduced in this phase, it's like they will lose. Because, we have Red Guardian, we have Ghost, we have Red Guardian, Ghost, we have Yelena, we have Bucky, and we have John Walker, and I want to say that's it, and Val. That's pretty much it. And when you think about it, I guess Zemo, hopefully, Zemo is supposed to be in the movie as well, or yeah. So I don't know. I just feel like, who are they gonna fight to make it feel like, them putting that group together, they're a threat, because I don't find them, like, we just saw the biggest threat of them all, which was the, like, you know what I mean, like, at least on I should say, at least on, with another, civilization out there of the Talakan, city. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know how they're gonna do that, but honestly, I really enjoyed this movie. I definitely give it a 10 out of 10. I even say it's better than the first movie. Most people probably wouldn't say that, but I cannot stop thinking about this movie. Also, I hope you guys liked this live stream. I might have been all over the place. I'm struggling to talk about it, because it's like, there was so much that went on in this movie, and there's so many meanings behind this movie. So many, like, so much, like, different meanings. And it's like, again, this movie isn't going to be for everybody. You know what I mean? Some people say that the first movie felt more contained and felt a little bit more like it knew what it wanted to do. And some people say that, a lot of people say that they didn't like this movie, and it felt like it was just like, it felt too big and all that. I loved the scale of this movie, because we had so much going on, and it had this movie had a bigger budget, way more than the first one. You could tell. But honestly, those are my two favorite theme songs. It's the what is it? It's the Wakanda Forever one, where she drops down with the suit, and then it's I think it's Welcome Home. I like that one as well. Now, when it comes to the songs from the soundtrack, actually, like the songs from the soundtrack, because there's two soundtracks. There's the orchestral soundtrack, and then there's the actual soundtrack for the movie, like with the actual songs in it. I love the Alone song that pops on when where they're kind of like, retreating to the mountains, to the Jabari tribe. They're kind of like relocating, Wakanda right now up there for the meantime, until they figure things out. I love that song, and also when Shuri is, making the herb, and Riri is making her suit. I love that song. I just love it. And then the other one I really enjoy too is the song where we're getting introduced to the capital city of Talokan. I really love that song. It feels so majestic, and it feels so, like, vibey. I love that song. I feel like it really represents the place and the scale and the beauty of Talokan's capital. I really feel like it, like, really, that song matches very well. And I feel like that's really it. I feel like those are really the only highlights from, like, the orchestral score soundtrack. I really like those two songs. And then I feel like, again, also, I really like the one song where, like, it was the moment where, like, the Dora Milaje were coming into like, we're bringing in the people that tried breaking into that facility of theirs, and that music when they were coming in. I like that music, that song as well. I forget the name of that song. But honestly, guys, yeah, I really appreciate you coming in here. Superwise, I appreciate you coming in here. I think you're still the only one in here, so I really appreciate it. Thank you. And for anybody else that was in here and I didn't catch you, thank you for being in here. But yeah, honestly though, yeah, I definitely give this movie a 10 out of 10. I can't wait to see it again. Hopefully I will see it again soon. Because the first two times I saw it, it was in IMAX. So I'm walking to Best Buy to look for certain movie box set. Yeah, won't buy anything without consulting you first. Okay, yeah, bet. Great stream, man. Wakanda forever, baby. Thank you, Superwise. I really do appreciate you in here. I love talking to you, man. Um, and of course, thank you, Super Wado, for being in here. Definitely tell me what movie box sets you get for sure. I'm really curious to know what you get. So definitely like let me know down in the comments below this video because it'll be once I post this stream, it'll be a video. So never mind, I didn't mean to send that. Was a message for my mom. Okay, you're all good, bro. But yeah, honestly, thank you for everybody being here. And I know I was kind of all over the place. This movie just had a lot going on. And I was struggling, thinking that how am I gonna do the spoiler review? Am I gonna do like a video and do a whole bunch of like photos in it? But I was like, this is such a big movie, and there's like my like I had so much to say, and I didn't know really how to say it. So come on, just do a live stream and just talk about the scenes I love and stuff. But definitely, also by the way, best movie of Phase 4, 100% best movie of Phase 4. This is the best movie, in my personal opinion. I feel like this movie had the most impact of all the movies in Phase 4. I think this movie had the biggest impact. Yeah, since Endgame, I didn't find it boring or slow paced. It went quick, yeah, it went by quickly, yeah, in the best way possible, and it felt, it felt it respected Chadwick. Yeah, I felt like it respected Chadwick very well too. I felt like this movie could not have been made any other way. I feel like they couldn't have dealt with Chadwick's passing any other way, especially, you know, through his character in the movie. I feel like they did that very, very well. Um, and yeah, honestly, I do think it's the best movie of Phase 4. I think if I had to rank the movies in Phase 4, I definitely would say it's definitely, um, actually, I'm gonna pull up the list because I've like sometimes there's just I don't realize how many movies there were in Phase 4. So I'm gonna look that up now so that way I just have a clear view of what I'm doing. Um, movie Phase 4, because there was a lot of movies that came out in this phase. Mostly shows, I would say, but even then. So how I would do it is I would do Black Panther Wakanda Forever, I would do Shang-Chi, then I would do Spider-Man No Way Home, then I would do Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Thor Love and Thunder, Eternals, then I would do Black Widow. I think that's how I would do it, if I'm being honest. I just felt like Shang-Chi, nothing beats that, and I felt like nothing was going to beat it for a while until this movie happened. I was like, shit. I was like, but I'm so glad this movie was the thing that did it because I could watch this movie, I think, over and over again, and I find more new meanings in it. I don't know what it is, but like, I feel like there's just so, also, I don't know if anybody like caught this, but the moment where Riri was talking to Shuri about like about like some I think it was I guess about like the machine that she built, and she said, oh yeah, like she said a quote that Chadwick said, which was really cool, that that there was like, I think there was a couple of quotes in there, but that was the main quote I realized was the one Riri said when Shuri was meeting her for the first time, in her dorm room. I don't know if anybody caught that, but that's something that he actually said, I think, when Chadwick was getting an award for Black Panther. So I thought that was really cool. And also when the moment where Ramonda, there was another thing when Ramonda said I could feel him on my shoulder, pushing me forward to keep moving forward. That's something Ryan Coogler said, I think it was at Comic-Con when he was releasing the first trailer for Comic-Con, and saying, you know, how what it was like to making Black Panther after the passing of Chadwick and stuff, and how everything, how everybody came together to make the best thing possible. He was saying that he felt Chadwick's grip in that moment of him, back in, at San Diego Comic-Con. He felt like his grip that he had felt the first time they went to Comic-Con for the first release of the first movie, when they first dropped the first trailer for the first Black Panther movie at San Diego Comic-Con. So he felt like the same grip that Chadwick had on him again in that moment when he was like talking about the second movie when they went back to San Diego Comic-Con. So I really thought that was really cool that they put that in the movie as well. There was just a lot of like subtle little Easter eggs in there, kind of like to moments of of quotes Chadwick said, and also the moment that Ryan Coogler said. I just didn't know if anybody picked those up. I picked those up. I think it was the second time I watched it. I picked up both. So but yeah, guys, I think I'm gonna end this live stream here, because I kind of want to go, finish watching season 2 of Doctor Who, and then find something to eat and kind of chill out for tonight. But again, I just want to say thank you for everybody being in here. I know it was kind of like probably all over the place this live stream, but I just really appreciate it, you guys, that you guys stuck with me, and you guys kind of bared with me when I was talking about the scenes I loved and the songs I loved and stuff like that. I really appreciate it. It really is great. Oh, I liked it a lot. Yeah. Are you still watching Flash? I'm not watching Flash anymore, Super Wado. I stopped watching Flash after the Mirror Master season. I think that was season 7 or 8. I can't remember. But yeah, I'm not coming back for the last season. It's just too painful. If you love the show still, great. I can't do it. Like, Flash dropped off for me in season 3, and Arrow dropped off for me. I'm gonna say, I don't even know what season it is. Probably after either the Damien Dark season or after the Ra's al Ghul season. I think after that, it kind of just dropped off for me. But yeah, honestly though, I'm super excited for Superman and Lois to come back on though. I'm super pumped for that. But yeah, guys, that was the live stream. For my spoiler review for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. If you guys saw the movie, definitely let me know down in the comments below. What was your favorite scene? What did you like about this movie? Also, let me know what your favorite song was for the orchestral soundtrack, and what your favorite song was for also the soundtrack in general for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Like, what was your favorite song? Definitely let me know. But yeah, guys, that was a video or the live stream. I hope everybody has a great night, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.